Welcome back, Sketchy Jeep here. We are doing part 2 of the video install for the bumper, winch, and the LightPods. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, go ahead and check it out right here. If you did, part 2 is underway. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on the videos. All right. First, we are going to use a screwdriver and pop out this tab right here on the passenger side and this tab right here on the driver's side. There are also about 8 tabs that run the length of the bumper that are not visible right now. Once we remove this plastic cover, you're able to access all 8 bolts securing the bumper. Now you can also see the tabs up top. After that, you disconnect the fog lights and the bumper should be able to be removed from the Jeep after that. Okay, so after removing the 8 nuts and washers that secure the bumper to the vehicle, we're going to get ready to start removing the bumper. And don't forget to disconnect your fog light. So after removing the bumper, there's going to be 2 screws that I forgot to mention that are located right here. You're going to remove that as well as the guard that it secures. We're going to reuse those screws later. So now I'm attempting to test fit the winch plate, but I'm having a hard time because that guard is in the way. But if you remove the guard along with those 2 screws, you should be good to go. Okay, after removing that plate and the 2 screws, I temporarily installed the winch plate using zip ties and a nut and bolt right here. This nut and bolt did not come with the bumper like it was supposed to, so I had to go to the hardware store to pick them up. Some of your vehicles might have the nut pre-installed and just need the bolt, but if not, 7/16" nut, bolt, and washer is all you need. At this point, make sure you tighten that all the way up, get it fully tightened. Here you can also see the wire for the LightPods loosely mounted using zip ties. Now I'm going to get ready to install the winch. Okay, so I've now mounted the control head. I mounted it in the center because that's the way I like it. You have the option to mount it to the side as well. It simply secures with the track system and you secure the screw and the clamp on the back. Now, after you finish that, all you have to do is secure your terminals to the back following the instructions again. Make sure it's nice and tight and properly routed. After that, you are going to route your power lines into the vehicle itself. So your black lead and your red lead go into the engine compartment, and then you'll be ready to install it on the winch plate. Here's all the hardware that comes with the winch. You're going to have 4 brass screws with washers and lock washers that's going to secure the winch to the winch plate. Notice they're going to be different in size than the ones for the Fairlead. So over here you have your Fairlead ones that are going to be bigger along with 2 nuts, and that secures your Fairlead to the bumper. And then you're going to have your 4 track nuts that are going to secure the winch to the winch plate. So now we're ready to route the wire into the engine compartment. I just simply took a piece of 550 cord or parachute cord and secured it to my wires for both the winch and the LightPod. And the winch is just sitting on the winch plate right now. It's not secured. So I made sure I used enough electrical tape so I didn't get snagged on the way up. So now I'm just simply routing it through the vehicle. Now take your time with this so that you don't damage anything or lose a wire as you're routing it. So the 2 terminals coming off of the winch for power, I routed it behind the intake. Here they are right here. And as you can see, wire A is going to the black terminal of the battery, and the other wire is going to the red terminal of the battery. And that's it for the winch. You want to make sure that you're zip tying everything so that it's not bouncing around too much when you're driving around. Make sure everything is zip tied. All right, so got it routed through the Jeep, hooked up to the battery. Right now I'm just going to test to make sure that it's spooling or it's functioning before going any further. Got power. All right, so it's good to go. So we keep doing what we're doing. So now that I know that the winch is working correctly, I'm going to secure it to the winch plate using the track nuts, the 4 bolts, washers, and lock washers. One thing that I forgot to mention, before you put on the winch, you want to secure that winch plate with 1 bolt temporarily while you put the winch in there, because the zip tie is not going to support that weight. You're going to take out that bolt later on when you get ready to install the bumper. Now, I also had problems with installing the bumper because the studs on the bumper did not line up with the 8 mounting holes on the vehicle itself. I had to take a step-up bit that I bought from AutoZone for about $8 and hollow out all 8 holes to about 3/4 of an inch to get that bumper to properly fit. Now, you might not have to do this because, again, no 2 bumpers are going to be the same from the factory, so you might be okay. But just in case, this is something you might want to keep in mind. It took us a while to figure that out. Make sure that if you do have to do this, that you grab some spray paint or some kind of paint to paint that bare metal that is going to be exposed after hollowing out your holes. All right, so now my buddy is just helping me get that bumper on there. As he's getting it in there, I'm lining up the studs with the holes, and I'm loosely fitting the washers and nut to keep it on the vehicle. All right, so we got it on. Now we're just tightening everything down, and we're going to finish it up pretty much. So stay tuned. You're going to take those 2 bolts that you removed earlier and reinstall them back into this location right here. Now, with the bumper installed, it's kind of tricky to get to, but with some patience, you can get it tightened. Okay, so for the pod, for the bumper, I have it routed on the side or in the front of the intake, going down, and I have it spliced into the wiring harness for your auxiliary switches. If you do have the auxiliary switches, switch number 3 is going to be the orange and pink cable, right? And you want to use one of these smaller gauge wires for the Lightpods. And then I have the black wire going to one of the grounding points on the vehicle, and that's it. So right now I'm just going to tape it up with some electrical tape and secure it down here with another zip tie or 2, and it's that easy. So I finished up majority of the install. While I was getting ready to install the Fairlead yesterday, the pre-mounted or the pre-drill holes that come on the Motobilt was a little bit too small for the bolts that came with the winch Fairlead. So I'm going to drill it out a little bit with a step-up drill and get it mounted. And I'm also going to use the nut that has the washer, if you want to call it that, already on there, because I'm gonna have to reach back there with my winch, and I don't want the nut sliding through with my wrench. So I suggest using one of these nuts if you can. It didn't come with the winch kit. I had to scrounge around the garage to find these nuts, so I'm gonna use that. So let's get started on that. Okay, so here again, I'm just hollowing out those holes for the Fairlead bolts because they were too small for the bolts that came with the Smittybilt bumper Fairleads. Again, once you start doing this, you want to make sure, and I did, it just wasn't on camera, you paint that exposed metal with something so that you can prevent it from rusting later on. I'm just securing the Fairlead along with my AV license plate bracket onto the bumper. And again, you can see there is very limited area back there with that winch installed. So that's why I had to switch out that nut to a nut that had like a built-in washer so that it wouldn't slide through my wrench. It stayed in place as I was screwing it in. It will save you a lot of headache in the long run if you just go ahead and see if you can find some nuts that has that washer. Or you can try securing the Fairlead to the bumper prior to installing the winch. I guess it's possible to do that because it really isn't in the way. You just want to make sure that your cable is going to be able to get routed through that with the Fairlead install, which I'm pretty sure it will. So you can go ahead and probably bypass that headache by just installing the Fairlead to the bumper prior to the winch being installed. Okay, so I got the Fairlead on. Got my license plates bracket for the Fairlead on because I'm in the great state of Virginia. And now I'm going to pre-spool the wire. I'm not going to apply any tension to it right now because I don't have the availability to do that. But before going to Corolla Beach next week, I'm going to link up with a friend and get some tension on here and pre-tension the wire. Alright, so with the synthetic rope, there's an arrow right here that sent spool in this direction. And I already took out an Allen key that secures, or the screw that secures it in there, so I'm doing that right now. So that's what it looks like when it's initially screwed in there. And now we're about to spool it up. Now I'm starting to spool the wire, and I'm really kind of not doing it correctly because I'm doing it in my garage, and because it's like a 100-foot cable, it's like all binded up. So I barely got it spooled on there, just enough for me to be able to travel to a parking lot. Then I called a friend and I was able to hook it up to his vehicle, and we spooled it correctly. So this is what you'll see in the next frame. All right, so sorry for the lower quality video. I think my friend was recording with like a potato or something like that. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate him helping me. Called him the day of, just out of the blue, and he willingly gave me a hand doing this. So check him out, Andrew Green. His link is right here. He got a YouTube channel, pretty cool stuff. But a few things: when you're spooling your cable for the first time, you want to make sure that the first few wraps around the drum is done with hand tension. So not the vehicle hooked up yet, but use your hand to tension it. And as you're tensioning it, make sure you are walking the cable in. Do not let the cable slide through your hand as you're tensioning it. So grab it, slide it in, and as you get close to the Fairlead, you release, and then do that a couple of times. And then after about 3 spools on the drum, then you hook it up to a vehicle or use the weight of your vehicle to spool it in. All right, so that wraps up the video. Still editing it right now, but it should be up by today. Today's Tuesday, so it should be up by today. Hopefully I can get this done in time. So next is going to be a video of when we went to Corolla Beach. This is going to be my first time doing a video like that, where it's not a remove and install or a vlog. I think it's going to turn out really good, so stay tuned for that. I'm really looking forward to it. It should be out at the earliest by the end of this week, by the latest mid next week. So again, thanks for watching. Y'all have a good one.